Christine Brown was always the quiet center of the Brown family, the homemaker, the caretaker, the glue that kept the rest of them together while everyone else sought the spotlight. But after almost 3 decades of being last on her list, something within her changed. She gazed at the life she'd created and didn't see herself in it anymore. As she saw the back of Cody Brown and the plural marriage that made up so much of her life, fans were shocked. But what followed wasn't merely a breakup, it was a rebirth, a radiant transformation, a love story she never imagined she would have. This video follows Christine's intense journey of being emotionally neglected and spiritually drained to rediscovering herself, her voice, and a form of love which was at last safe. You'll witness how the quiet courage of one woman rewrote the history of an entire family, and how her courageous choice shook not just Cody, but shook the entire structure of the Brown family. She was never the favorite, but now, she's finally the star of her own show. And wait until you hear what Janelle, Mary, and Robyn had to say when Christine walked away. You won't want to miss when Christine walked into the next chapter of her life with a smile that said, "I'm finally free." Tune in now to learn how Christine's narrative is rewriting all we've ever known about sister wives. Logan Brown is quietly building toward his breaking point. As Robyn keeps putting Dayton increasingly in the family limelight, whispers are starting to circulate, whispers that Dayton isn't merely being hailed, he could be taking someone else's place. And that person is Logan. Now Janelle is coming forward to expose what's been going on behind the scenes, exposing the emotional damage this change has done to her son. In this episode, we're peeling back the layers, looking at Robyn's alleged long game, Janelle's candid insights, and the heartache Logan has kept bottled up for far too long. Logan used to be at the center of everything. He was deeply respected, the go-to, the steady hand in the family's chaotic structure. But in recent years, that role has quietly slipped through his fingers. Increasingly, Robyn's attention has shifted towards Dayton, and with that change has come a subtle sidelining of Logan. Rumors of favoritism have become outright discussions, and now some are even speculating that Logan is being edged out, not by mistake, but on purpose. Not everything that cracks makes a noise. Some things just fade away slowly. In spite of all he's contributed, his devotion, his emotional work, his vision, Logan is now facing a crossroads. The very ground he helped establish is changing beneath him. And it was Janelle, one always keenly vigilant, who began naming what was wrong. She noticed it before the others did. In tiny moments first, who got invited, who got asked, who got heard. Robyn started drawing Dayton into more public areas, family conversations, group activities, critical planning moments. At first, it appeared harmless, possibly even helpful. But gradually, it developed into something else altogether. The transition wasn't audible, but it was consistent. Dayton started picking up where Logan used to be. His voice began ringing out where Logan's did once resound. Logan's presence, on the other hand, appeared to disappear. He wasn't being summoned. His suggestions were ignored. Even his individual milestones began to go by with little recognition. That sort of gradual decline is its own form of heartbreak. What started as inclusion felt performative, like Logan was present, but invisible, heard, but unheard. His input became wallpaper noise as Dayton moved center stage, occupying the roles, wielding the power, and gradually moving into Logan's shadow. Emotionally, Logan didn't blow up. He collapsed. Rather than respond outwardly, he internalized the entire thing. Initially, he sought comfort. He sought reassurance from the people around him that he considered trustworthy. But the more that his attempts were waved away, the more silent he became. His confusion turned to frustration, and frustration turned to silence. Experts often say that when someone feels pushed out in close relationships, it doesn't just hurt, it chips away at their emotional well-being. Anxiety, depression, even a deep sense of helplessness can follow. And that's the shadow Logan has been walking through. Now, whether intentionally or not, Robyn began to make her moves look an awful lot like a well-planned scheme. Dayton's rapid ascension didn't occur in a vacuum. It followed a series of seemingly subtle decisions that began to gently push Logan aside. Leadership positions, family functions, public appearances, even access to some family resources. The silence surrounding Logan wasn't coincidental. It was manufactured. Robyn started taking Dayton to selectively assembled family gatherings, environments in which prominent community leaders were seated. These were the type of occasions where Logan would be the picture of poise, proudly being the face of the family. But now, it was Dayton in the limelight, and Logan in the background. Occasionally Logan was included too, but the longer time went on, the more frequently he was excluded in the end. And when he was present, the dynamic was shifted. Dayton was coddled as the up-and-comer. Logan was treated as a distant memory. What made it more difficult, though, was seeing Dayton become heard in discussions that Logan had previously dominated. Robyn wasn't only raising Dayton, she was starting to build a narrative around him. Dayton wasn't merely included, he was being set up to be the future. For those around Logan, this change didn't feel only unjust, it felt deliberate. And that's when Janelle intervened. With years of insight, and an insider's perspective of the family's everyday reality, Janelle began filling in what was truly going on behind closed doors. She began speaking out, first with friends and trusted relatives, and eventually the public. Janelle explained the way Logan quietly disappeared. Not only forgotten, but consciously forgotten. She related how his worries were dismissed, how his achievements went quietly unremarked, particularly when compared to Dayton. One of the saddest things she shared was that Logan did not say anything. He was afraid of upsetting the apple cart, of making it worse. So he just remained silent. That emotional closure became his survival mechanism. He did not stop loving, he just stopped hoping to be heard. Janelle's voice is important here. She's not only an observer, she was there. She saw the gradual shift in Logan. She watched as tension crept in. Every time Dayton was given leadership responsibilities, Logan had once taken with pride, and she noticed the way Logan's eyes dropped when he understood that his voice no longer held authority in the room. Through her, we begin to see how profoundly Logan was affected. Because when everyone around you adjusts their allegiance, when connections crack, even subtly, it doesn't just hurt, it alters your identity. Logan started coping with everything by himself. The fear set in. The uncertainty rooted itself. He wondered where he fit, what he was worth. These weren't fleeting ideas. They became burdens he carried each day. Over time, he drew away further. He ceased to speak out at all. He shunned gatherings in which Dayton would attend. And the Logan that once stood strong, unobtrusively, gradually fell away into himself. As it became increasingly painful for Logan, those around him started revealing small but indicative anecdotes. They outlined the way Logan began questioning his own value, wondering in hushed tones if he wasn't just forgotten anymore, but replaceable. And Logan, in spite of his increasing solitude, didn't quit immediately. He reached out, he messaged, he pleaded for understanding. He made the effort, in earnest, to fill the emotional distance. But again and again, he was greeted with silence, or worse, implicit rejection. It's quiet rejection that wounds most profoundly. Family psychologists tend to mention that when one gets swapped out, particularly without reason or empathy, it causes irreparable harm. Getting replaced is difficult enough. Getting replaced without explanation, though, that's deep. That kind of hurt has a way of distorting a person's sense of self, particularly if it occurs within the confines of an intimate system such as a big family. When Robyn steered the limelight to Dayton, knowingly or unknowingly, Logan was shaken to his very core. His sense of belonging, something that had been so sure that started unfolding. And then when a person like Janelle starts to talk, the deep emotional scars start rearing their heads. Once that hurt is heard out, you can't shut it out anymore. Some things don't change until someone finally speaks the truth. And now the truth is coming out. Logan's quiet escape is at an end. Janelle's courageous step forward has paved the way for Logan's journey to be viewed, heard, and perhaps just perhaps understood. We stand at a fork in the road. Will Robyn take responsibility for the emotional consequences? Will Dayton consider the change in his role? Can the fissures in this family's foundation be mended? The responses are in what comes next. Transparency is the only option now. Whether Robyn decides to greet the moment with empathy, whether she hears versus deflects, there's still hope to repair what's broken. But if this silence holds, the emotional distance has a chance to crystallize into something much more difficult to repair. And so they watch. Witnesses within the family and beyond are waiting for cues. Will Logan go further publicly with his path? Will Dayton or Robyn respond? Will there be apologies, accountability, or will walls be erected and doors shut? Whatever comes next will rewrite the Brown family's narrative. once more. We might witness new dialogue, perhaps even mediation. Whatever happens, however, one thing is assured. Logan deserves to be heard. And if these revelations lead to change, whether reconciliation or clarity, that in itself is a step toward healing. But if Dayton's rise continues without pause, and Logan fades further into the background, the shift we're witnessing may become permanent. That would mark a whole new chapter for the family, and one that's harder to come back from. Because beneath all that, what's ultimately on the line is belonging. It's about being seen. Logan's silence wasn't weakness, however, it was the silent consequence of being methodically pushed to the side. And now that the silence is shattered, the tale is no longer merely one of harm, but of reckoning. And just when you thought things may be winding down, though season 19 of Sister Wives has officially concluded, the real-life drama continues. A recent Instagram confession just threw a wrench into one of the oldest storylines from season 1, and upsetting some long-held beliefs. Christine Brown Woolley, Kody Brown's third spiritual wife, revealed in a very personal Instagram reel. She appears in the video inside a recording booth, reading from her new memoir Sister Wife, a memoir of faith, family and finding freedom. She looks back on a candid and emotional moment, one that longtime fans will appreciate, when she was giving birth to her daughter Truly Brown. What was supposed to be one of the most precious times in a man's life, Kody Brown had other things on his mind. Christine was giving birth to their daughter Truly, but rather than running to the hospital to be present, Kody took a side trip. In a moment that continues to generate controversy, the camera crew accompanied him, not to the maternity ward, but to Robyn's residence. Christine said Kody told her he needed to check in. She retold this tale recently as she recorded a clip from her book, Sister Wife, and her face was the best retelling of the tale. Following up on how the other children responded to her labor, she turned towards the camera, raised an eyebrow, and provided a knowing wry smile. That smile spoke volume. The incident she referred to occurred in season 1, episode 4, Third Wife in Labor, and it left a lasting impression on viewers, not merely because of Kody's timing, but because of something else in particular: a kiss. As Kody departed Robyn's house to head back to Christine, who remained in active labor, Robyn attempted to softly shut the door on their way out, but she was moving too slowly. Cameras recorded what appeared to be a kiss between the two, well before Robyn formally married into the family. That had become a huge flashpoint among fans. Some moments are just too raw to remain buried, particularly when the cameras don't waver. Years later, during the season 19 one-on-one interviews, Robyn tried to walk that moment back. She insisted the kiss wasn't what people thought. "Oh no, nothing serious," she claimed. "Just a little church kiss, the kind you'd do in front of your bishop." She continued that they didn't kiss until they were engaged, and even then it was uncomfortable. "His face smashed mine," she explained to the cameras. "It wasn't anything super sexy." But to Christine, that experience still hurt. After all, she gave birth to her and Kody's sixth child before Robyn formally became a part of the family. And the baby? She showed up in Kody and Robyn's wedding pictures just a short while later. In the reality TV universe, few programs have generated as much controversy as Sister Wives. For more than a decade, viewers have watched the Browns navigate their intricate dance of plural marriage, religion, and individual sacrifice. But just when fans had finally accepted this wild ride, a fresh wave of tension has emerged, thanks to one Instagram post. It didn't originate with Kody or Robyn. It originated with one of the original wives, and it's reviving old suspicion. The Brown clan, once a united front, Kody, Mary, Janelle, Christine and Robyn, broke apart over the years. The emotional distance, rivalry and harsh public scrutiny became too much. Christine described herself as the first one to officially exit in 2021. Janelle did the same in 2022. And lastly, after years of emotional limbo, Mary announced in early 2023 that she was gone. That makes Robyn the sole remaining one. The family split wasn't sudden. Holes had been developing for years, visible to fans and tangible to the wives. But what nobody saw coming was a softly spoken poetic post from Janelle on Instagram. Just an image of the Utah desert, and a couple of haunting lines. "Sometimes freedom means walking away even when they still expect you to stay." On first look it seemed introspective, serene even. But the moment fans saw it, they grabbed onto the vibe and the title "No More Secrets." The internet went crazy. Reddit forums blew up, and rumor ran rampant like wildfire. Was this merely closure, or a signal of something more? Was Janelle referencing a long-buried secret, a betrayal involving another wife? Or was this her subtle way of telling fans that the story we've been watching all these years wasn't the whole truth? And then came the bombshell. Only hours later, Janelle posted something that shocked the Sister Wives universe, a fuzzy screenshot of a text exchange. The names were obscured, but one statement stood out like a beacon in the night. "You knew what Robyn was doing behind our backs and said nothing." That was all it took. Fans went crazy with theories. What had Robyn been doing? And for how long? And did Janelle know the whole time? It didn't take long for Christine to pipe up. Since she left the marriage and began new with her fiancé, David Woolley, Christine has become a favorite among fans, and someone that viewers can rely on to tell it like it is. The very next day, she spoke about the bubbling tension in her Instagram stories. "There's a lot I want to say," she began. "But I'll say this, loyalty is earned, and when trust is broken you can't rebuild it with silence. Some of us chose peace, others chose power. Not every betrayal needs to be shouted, sometimes it just needs to be seen." Christine did not mention names, but the implication was clear. The years of tension between her and Robyn, previously acted out insidiously in passing looks and sullen silences, were now openly acknowledged. And Robyn, she was squarely at the center of it all. The fan base blew up. Reddit forums, TikToks, YouTube commentary, they all lit up with gossip. One of the reigning theories, Robyn had secretly been siphoning family money, financially handicapping herself and her kids long before the other marriages collapsed. Some blamed Robyn for nudging Kody, quietly but firmly, away from the other wives. That this division was not a product of natural drift, but a sustained, deliberate campaign. Both Janelle and Christine had known it for some time, chose silence until today. "It's always been clear Robyn was the favorite," one fan said. "But this makes it official. The manipulation, the deception, it's repulsive." And Kody, he wasn't spared the limelight either. Countless pointed fingers at him for enabling Robyn, for letting emotional neglect accumulate unchecked throughout his other relationships and kids. But maybe the loudest aspect of the whole scenario was how quiet Robyn and Kody were themselves. While Janelle and Christine made subtle remarks, Kody and Robyn were silent. Their social media sites remained black. No posts, no comments, nothing. It passed days. When Kody finally broke his silence, it wasn't in a sit-down interview or even on his own account. Rather, it came through a brief, pre-recorded message on Cameo, a service in which fans pay for celebrities to send them personalized greetings. In that video, Kody simply said, "We're focusing on family and healing. The rest is just noise." But fans weren't buying it. Silence, when trust is broken, sounds a lot like guilt. Comments poured in, demanding answers, demanding truth. And then, unexpectedly, Mary joined the conversation. Popular for being the most emotionally distant wife in her plural marriage years, Mary took a different approach in her own response. In an Instagram live, she provided a sharp observation. "I waited years for honesty," she said. "It's ironic that now, with everything crashing and burning, people suddenly want to speak truth." She didn't mention names, but she was biting. It wasn't just directed at Kody or Robyn. It might even have extended to Christine and Janelle for not speaking up sooner. So where does this leave us? With 3 of Kody's 4 wives deceased, and the remaining one on shaky ground, the future of Sister Wives has never been less clear. TLC has said nothing in public, but sources close to production have told us there's buzz about a special tell-all episode or a future season that addresses this fallout head-on. Whether or not we'll get the full truth remains to be seen. But one thing is clear. The cracks in this family didn't form overnight, and now those cracks have turned into chasms. What began as a story about faith and family unity has transformed into a layered drama filled with emotional betrayal, loyalty divides, and the fallout of silence. And Christine, after nearly 3 decades in a spiritual marriage with Cody Brown, she's finally breaking her silence in full. And what she's sharing isn't just about a failed love story. It's about the cost of ignoring your own voice. This wasn't merely a breakup. For Christine, it was about re-owning her voice after decades of emotional silence, and finally ending a belief system that no longer reflected her truth. Her words don't merely describe a collapsed relationship. They speak to the greater price of polygamy, of dwelling in a dynamic based on control, sacrifice, and promises that go largely unkept. Christine started out with faith. In 1994, she married Cody Brown for the 3rd time, becoming part of a spiritual union already founded in the Apostolic United Brethren's teachings, a fundamentalist Mormon sect that practices plural marriage. Kody was already married to Mary and Janelle at that time. Robyn was yet to come. Christine herself was raised in a polygamous home. To her, this way of life was destined. I felt like that was what God wanted me to do. She once testified. She really did believe plural marriage was all about sisterhood, shared purpose, and spiritual oneness. She gave herself over to it, body, heart, and soul. But the reality failed to meet the ideal. As the years went by, and the Sister Wives cameras continued to roll, fans started to pay attention. Christine's sparkle faded. Her previously bubbly laugh didn't seem as genuine, her smile strained. In her relationship with Kody, it was distant, nearly cold. Behind closed doors, Christine sensed it as well. She was an afterthought. In a recent Honest interview, she explained, "For years I felt like I was always the last priority, not just in the marriage, but in the family. I was easy to ignore because I didn't complain. I just kept hoping Kody would see me. He didn't. Sometimes the greatest heartbreak is knowing you were never truly seen." What was even more compelling in her confession was the authenticity of it. For all those years, Christine had been telling herself that feeling invisible was the cost of the bargain. That emotional abandonment was the cost of multiple marriage. That sacrifice was the price of faithfulness. But beneath the surface, that conviction was quietly shattering her spirit. And then the breaking point came. In one of the later seasons, the audience saw a cringe-worthy moment go down on camera, Kody openly confessing that he was no longer sexually active with Christine. He even described her as feeling more like a friend than a wife. It was horrific for Christine. "When he explained to me that he wasn't attracted to me anymore," she described, "that was it. That was the moment. I knew I had to go." Her analysis of that chapter is brutal but insightful. Christine feels she never was loved the way a partner should have been loved. "I think he cared about what I represented," she said, "the caretaker, the mother of his children, the submissive wife. But not me, not Christine." That realization hurt, but also liberating. Departure wasn't an easy decision. Christine had 6 kids with Kody. She had years of pooled money and a whole religious system informing her that departure would damn her spiritually, but she didn't allow fear control her destiny. In quiet strength, she chose herself. In 2021, she uprooted her life and relocated to Utah with her youngest daughter Truly. It wasn't merely a move. It was a statement. Christine wasn't only leaving Kody, she was leaving the existence that had gradually stifled her. Leaving wasn't only a geographical relocation, it was Christine taking back her autonomy. "I did not even know how shattered I was until I left," she explained. "I began smiling again. Actually smiling and laughing, without shame. It felt like I was waking up. And that newly awakened existence, it delivered something lovely." In a surprise that left Sister Wives viewers reeling, Christine discovered love again. Real love. This time with David Woolley, a widowed businessman with a quiet demeanor and a kind heart. The attraction was quick, but it was real. Within 12 months of dating, the two wed. Unlike Kody, David does not withdraw affection or make Christine feel as though she has to prove herself to. Love with him comes. "David's looking at me like I'm magic," Christine tearfully said. "I never experienced that before. I didn't know love was this safe." Asked what was different about this relationship, Christine spoke candidly. "With Kody, I was always trying to earn love. With David, I am loved, just for being me." The love she waited half a lifetime for was never about earning. It was about being. Christine's change has resonated far outside of the Sister Wives community. Her tale has moved women everywhere, particularly women who've been stuck in emotionally empty relationships, holding out for scraps of connection. In interviews and moving Instagram posts, Christine has emerged as a soft-spoken but forceful voice for women discovering their worth. Her message: "Don't stay small for someone who doesn't see your light. You deserve to be someone's first choice." She's also spoken honestly about the psychological cost of polygamy, how it tends to isolate women, push them into silent competition, and instruct them to accept less. "I still believe in love," she says, "but not the kind that destroys you. Not the kind that teaches you to accept less than you need." And whereas Christine is embracing the happiness of her new life, Kody Brown is struggling far more. In a number of Sister Wives confessionals, Kody confessed that Christine's departure had left him rattled. He felt blindsided, not only by her leaving, but by what he perceives as her rewriting their history. "It's hard to watch someone rewrite history," he said. "We had good years too." But both Christine and all fans would contend that recognizing the hurt doesn't negate the good. It just finishes the story. The complete picture is both the good and the bad.
You can recall the love and still mourn the way it ended. Both can be true. Nowadays, the Brown family is seriously split. Christine has remained close to Janelle and some of the kids, but her relationship with Kody and Robyn, that is distanced at best. Still, Christine isn't looking back. With her new marriage, a thriving presence on social media, and a renewed sense of self, she's stepping fully into her next chapter. She's become an advocate for joy, healthy relationships, and the power of starting over, no matter how long you've stayed stuck. If I could tell my younger self one thing, Christine said on an emotional note, I'd say, you're allowed to. Love isn't supposed to feel like lonely. It has taken her 27 years, but her voice is finally being heard. Christine Brown's candid, unapologetic take on her decades-long marriage to Cody Brown is about more than just reality soap opera. It's a lesson for anyone who's ever doubted their own value or waited too long. Walking away isn't, it's expansion, it's serenity, it's the point at which you finally quit pretending and start living. And for the millions of women tuning in, her message is clear and loud. It's never too late to say, I deserve better.
In 1994, Christine entered Cody Brown's plural household as his third wife, merging with Mary and Janelle, then common vision of faith and family. Christine bore 6 children over the years. She became the homemaker, the nurturer, the peacekeeper. But what we watched on television wasn't always the complete picture. Cody's emotional abandonment didn't occur overnight. It snuck up on her, gradually draining Christine's confidence, her spirit, and her self-worth. As Cody's focus drifted increasingly toward Robyn, his fourth and lawfully married wife, Christine's needs were relegated to the back burner, and viewers witnessed it all firsthand. For years, fans watched her light dwindle, her smiles disappear, and the chasm between her and Kody expand. Christine's unhappiness wasn't a hot flash, it was a simmer. But before long, the fire within her became too hot to keep in. I deserve better. That's what Christine told him. And at that moment, things shifted. In what's now become one of the most iconic scenes in Sister Wives history, Christine looked directly into the camera and said, I don't want to be in a marriage where I'm not valued. It wasn't just a line, it was a lifeline, a declaration, a quiet revolution for women everywhere who had ever felt overlooked, forgotten, or taken for granted. In 2021, Christine formally stated she was leaving Cody Brown and the plural family as well. She didn't leave a marriage behind. She walked toward herself. The news sent fans into a tailspin, not because it was unexpected, but because someone had finally spoken up. After 27 years of dedication, hard work, and emotional labor, Christine moved out of the Arizona cul-de-sac life and back to Utah, her home state, and the place where she'd always felt most herself. What ensued? A complete glow-up. After Christine escaped the poisonous emotional atmosphere that had suffocated her for so long, all aspects of her started changing. Her smile, the way she held her head. Her Instagram feed became a symphony of joy. We watched as Christine took road trips, played with the grandkids, radiated confidence, and laughed like someone who had rediscovered the beat of her own life. Gone was the woman who had learned to shrink herself to fit someone else's narrative. In her place stood a woman who had reclaimed her voice and wasn't afraid to use it. One fan summed it up perfectly. Christine, you're glowing like never before. And it's true. That smile? It isn't just for show. It's real peace, the kind that comes after a long, hard storm. And while Christine has never badmouthed Kody publicly, she's made her point without saying a word. Because sometimes, the best response isn't revenge. It's healing. It's joy. It's showing the world that you're doing just fine without the person who didn't see your worth. And Christine? She's thriving. Her recent social media posts have captured this transformation in the most powerful way. Health and wellness. Christine has stepped up to claim control of her health. Peloton rides, healthy meals, and weight loss shared with friends. She's resilient, full of energy, and radiant with life, love, and romance. Christine made their relationship public in 2022 with David Woolley, a widowed entrepreneur with a warm, kind heart. David loves her, and it shows. Wherever they travel or simply smile by each other's side, the love between them is evident. And the contrast? Fans have taken notice. This romance appears like partnership, not show. Family first. Christine has welcomed her role as a granny with open arms, sharing sweet moments, play dates, and snuggle photos with her kids and grandbaby. Her formerly broken family now feels stable, complete, and love to pieces. On-camera confidence. Christine's not only pleased, she's in charge. She's collaborating with brands, hosting live chats with supporters, and hinting at new ventures on the horizon. She's no longer defined by her past. She's creating a warm, independent future. Christine isn't Kody's girlfriend. She's Christine, unapologetic, radiant, and free. And fans? They're cheering her on every step of the way. From Reddit, YouTube, and Facebook, Sister Wives fans have mobilized around her change. Some have called Christine the true MVP of the show. Her inner strength, her dignity, and her development have turned her into an icon for viewers reassessing their own relationships and emotional well-being. When Kody finally expressed his anger over her leaving, fans quickly tweeted in response, "You had years to make it right. You just never did." Christine's tale is no longer a story now. It is a movement. She's a poster child for self-respect, liberation, and what can occur when a woman chooses herself, completely, and without fear. Christine Brown didn't so much find love again. She found happily ever after. Christine and David Woolley exchanged vows in 2023 during an awe-inspiring outdoor wedding that seemed plucked from the pages of a fairy tale. The atmosphere was private, charged with emotion, and exuded this sense of calm that hadn't been felt by fans in years from Christine. She moved with poise. Her dress glimmered, and her smile, it spoke volumes. This was not merely a wedding. It was a declaration, a strong public affirmation that Christine had not compromised. She waited for someone who appreciated her value and let her know it each and every day. Christine and David now look to the future with optimism and intention. The pair has teased ideas of world travel, building a joint business, and perhaps even shooting a spin-off series chronicling their life together. Fans are hungry to see it. After all, who wouldn't want to see the next installment of Christine's story, one where love is safe, mutual, and satisfying? This is not merely a love story, it's about recovering a life Christine gave away. Christine's courageous step forward, however, did not only transform her own life, it created shockwaves in the entire Brown family. Her closest friend, Janelle, started considering her own position in the plural marriage dynamic. Their relationship grew stronger, and the two started doing more things together, posting updates, going to events side by side, and even spending holidays together as chosen family. Janelle's quiet strength echoed Christine's boldness, and before long, fans began wondering, was she next? In the meantime, Mary appeared shocked, but detached. Her troubled history with Kody had been long rumored, and Christine's departure cast a long shadow over the facade that all was okay. Mary also started to question her own emotional state. And Robyn? Well, Robyn was sad, but viewers couldn't help but catch something else, a feeling of discontent. Robyn's choice to leave highlighted firmly on her position in the family circle, and not positively so. Lots of fans long suspected Robyn exercised more power in the family than she admitted to. With Christine departed, such suspicions screamed louder. Christine's bravery pushed all of us wives, viewers, even Kody, to look more closely at what the Brown family had devolved to. She may not have been the first to leave, but she wasn't the last to challenge the foundation the whole edifice was based upon. It takes just one person's bravery sometimes to begin a ripple effect that will remake everything. And Christine? She's the face of that transformation. Her own path from heartbreak to wholeness is more than great TV. It's a template for anyone who's attempting to get their life back. She didn't merely leave a marriage. She left behind emotional numbness, spiritual emptiness, and a decade of being invisible. She moved toward liberty, toward serenity, and toward the type of self-respect that comes from finally choosing yourself. Her Twitter feed isn't merely populated with posts now. It's populated with proclamations. I'm here, I'm thriving, and I will never be silenced again. And as fans keep on cheering her on, Christine stands tall, not at the sidelines, not as a supporting character in someone else's tale, but as the heroine of her own.